The sun over Naro 3 was large and red, hanging low in the dusty sky. The planet had no forests, no rivers, and no real life. It's just rocks, sand, and sharp winds. But it had metal lots of old wrecks and scrap from wars long forgotten. Tom walked carefully through the dry canyon, his boots crunched over broken stones as he followed the signal on his wrist device. He was a field medic for a salvage crew. Usually he just treated small cuts, heat burns, or machine injuries. But today the signal was different. It wasn't coming from his team. It was a distress beacon. Valari technology. Valari, he whispered to himself. What are they doing this far from their space? The humans in Valari were not at war anymore, but they weren't allies either. Some people still hated the other side. Others were just afraid. But Tom didn't care much about that. If someone was hurt, he would help. That was his job. As he climbed over a ridge, he saw a Valari scout pod, broken and burning on one side. It had slammed into the rocky ground. Hard. One of its wings was bent, and smoke came from the engine. The beacon light blinked weakly. Tom moved closer, careful and slow. He held up both hands and called out, "I'm not here to fight. I'm a medic. I just want to help." At first there was no answer. Then a soft groan came from behind the pod. Tom rushed to the sound and found her. She was young, maybe close. To his age? Her skin was silver blue, smooth like polished stone. Her long hair was dark and tied back in warrior braids. Her eyes, bright yellow like a cat's, looked up at him with pain and fear. Her right leg was twisted in a bad way. Something was clearly broken. Blood thinner than human blood drained down her side. She held a small knife in one hand, shaking. "I don't want to hurt you," Tom said gently. "I'm going to help you," she hissed through her teeth, her voice sharp but weak. "Stay back." "You're hurt," Tom said. He dropped to one knee, showing her the medical patch on his sleeve. "Just let me set your leg, that's all." She looked at him, eyes full of warning, but also fading strength. Then, finally, she dropped the knife. Ow! Her hand fell to the ground. Tom moved quickly. He pulled out a small scanner and checked her leg. The bone was fractured badly. She'd need a full hospital back on her ship, but for now, he could make it straight and stable. "This will hurt," he said. She gave a small nod. Tom placed one hand below the break and one above. He counted softly. 1, 2, 3. Pulled and straightened the leg. She cried out, loud and sharp, but not angry. It was the pain, and then something strange happened. As Tom began to wrap her leg and place the support brace, the alien woman reached out and grabbed his hand. She held it tightly, her fingers strong, despite her weakness. "It's okay," Tom said, trying to pull his hand free. "I need to finish wrapping it." But she didn't let go. Her grip wasn't violent, it was afraid. Tom looked into her eyes. They weren't wild anymore, just tired, scared. So he let her hold his hand while he worked. After 10 minutes, the brace was done. He helped her sit up, supporting her back with one arm. "I'm Tom," he said quietly. "Can you tell me your name?" She stared at him, blinking slowly. Then after a pause, she answered, "Rin." "Nice to meet you, Rin." She said nothing else. She still wouldn't let go of his hand. Tom gave her some water and cleaned the smaller cuts on her arms and side. She accepted his help now, without a word. When she shivered, he wrapped a heat blanket around her shoulders. The cold of Naro 3 came fast after sunset. "You're lucky I found you," Tom said, half to himself. Rin turned her head. "You are human, yes," my people said. "Humans don't help." Tom gave a small shrug. "Then your people are wrong." Silence hung between them for a moment. A gust of wind blew dust across the rocks. Tom checked his wrist device again. His team had sent a message. Valari signal detected. Orders, do not engage. Return to base. Looked at. Rin, still holding his hand, sighed. "I guess they don't want me near you," he said quietly. Rin's eyes narrowed. "Will you leave me?" Tom shook his head. "No, I'll stay. You're not safe alone out here." Her grip on his hand tightened slightly. Then her voice softened. "Good." He stayed under the broken pod that night. Tom set up a small emergency. tent barely big enough for two. The air grew colder, and the winds howled louder. Erin finally spoke again. Just before falling asleep, "When you touched my leg," she said slowly, "you made a bond." Tom looked confused. "A bond?" She didn't answer. She just closed her eyes, still holding his hand. Tom leaned back and watched the stars above the ripped tent flap. He didn't know what she meant, but he knew this. Something had changed, and she still wouldn't let go. The wind blew hard across the canyon, carrying dry sand with it. It tapped against the side of the broken Valari ship like tiny fingers. Inside the small emergency tent, Tom sat beside Rin, who lay wrapped in the heat blanket. Her silver skin looked pale under the weak light of his scanner. Rin was asleep, but her hand was still gripping Tom's. He watched her for a moment, thinking she was not like what people back at base said about the Valari. They called her kind, cold, proud, and dangerous. But she was just a person hurt, scared, and alone. And for some reason, she trusted him. Tom looked again at the message from his team. "Do not help Valari. Orders from command." He sighed and turned off the device. Rin stirred slightly. Her fingers twitched, and her eyes opened slowly. "You didn't leave," she said in a soft voice. "No," Tom said with a small smile. "Still here." Rin sat up slowly, groaning as pain moved through her leg. Tom helped her stay steady. "Where are your people?" he asked. Erin looked down, dead or taken. "I was flying to the Peace Summit. A small group came with me. Someone shot us down." Tom frowned. "You were going to talk peace?" Rin nodded. "Yes, I wanted the fighting to end. But not all Valari agree. Some want the war to return. A lot of people hate your kind. They don't want peace either." There was a long pause. "Maybe that's why we ended up here," Rin said. "Because we are not like the others." Tom smiled at that. "Maybe." He helped her drink water and gave her a food pack. She opened it, sniffed it carefully, then began to eat. Her face showed no emotion, but her hand didn't let go of his the whole time. "Do you always hold hands this long with people who help you?" he asked, half joking. She looked at him with serious eyes. In Valari culture, when a wounded one allows another to touch them during pain, a bond is made. Tom blinked. "A bond?" "Yes. It means, I trust you, even if I don't understand you. Even if you are from another world." Tom said nothing. He didn't fully understand, but he felt the weight of her words. Suddenly, his wrist device beeped. A motion alert. Something was moving outside. Tom reached for his small scanner and peered. Through the tent flap, a dark shape was walking among the rocks. He froze. It wasn't human, and it wasn't Vela Arai. It was tall, wearing armor that shimmered like liquid metal. His face was hidden behind a dark mask, and it carried a long energy weapon. It wasn't looking at the tent, but it was close. "Tom," whispered, "someone's here." Rin stiffened. She tried to move, but winced in pain. "Stay still," Tom said. "I'll look." He slipped out of the tent quietly and hid behind a rock. The strange figure scanned the crash site. It picked up a broken Valari device, then dropped it and moved on. Tom held his breath as it passed just a few meters from him. After a few minutes, it climbed over a ridge and disappeared. Tom returned to the tent, heart beating fast. "Who was it?" Rin asked. "I don't know. It wasn't one of ours, and it wasn't one of yours." Rin's eyes narrowed. "The Tharn." "Tharn," Tom repeated. She nodded slowly. "A hidden group. No one knows where they come from. But they don't want peace between humans and Valari. They strike from the shadows, always watching." Tom sat back, worried. "So someone really doesn't want you to reach the Peace Summit?" "They want chaos," Rin whispered. "They want both sides to stay apart or destroy each other." Tom stood up. "We can't stay here. It's not safe anymore." He helped Rin up, careful of her leg. She leaned on him for support. He grabbed a long piece of wreckage and made a simple crutch for her. Rin tested it, wincing but walking. "I can move," she said. "Then let's go," Tom replied. "There's a cave nearby. I passed it on the way here. We can hide there. For the night, as they left the wreck behind, Rin said something softly. You could still leave. They would welcome you back. Tom looked at her. I'm not leaving you. She didn't reply, but her hand gripped his arm tighter. They moved slowly through the canyon, using rocks as cover. The sun was low now, and the sky turned purple. Dust swirled around them as wind blew stronger. Finally, they reached the cave, a dark crack in the rock wall. Inside, it was cool and dry. Tom helped Rin sit down and checked her leg again. No new damage, but she was tired. Her hand shook slightly from the walk. You did well, he said. We'll rest here. She nodded, closing her eyes for a moment. Tom sat next to her. She leaned her head against his shoulder. He didn't move. The wind howled outside the cave, listened closely, scanning for sounds of footsteps or machines. But there was nothing, only silence. Then Rin spoke again, very quietly. My people would not understand this. Tom looked at her. Understand what? That I trust a human. Tom gave a small laugh. My people wouldn't understand it either. She turned her head slightly to look at him. Then maybe. We shouldn't tell them. Tom smiled. Deal. And for the first time since the crash, Rin smiled too. The sky over Nara 3 turned a deep orange as the second sun set. Inside the cave, Tom sat near the mouth, watching the rocks below. The silence was heavy. Only the soft breath of Rin behind him reminded him he wasn't alone. She was resting again, her legs still wrapped and stiff. The crutch he had made lay beside her. Her face was calm, but he knew she was thinking, maybe even worrying. Tom's hand rested on his wrist device. He checked the scanner one more time. No signals, no sound, no movement. Still, he didn't trust the quiet. The strange figure he'd seen the day before, the one in metal armor, hadn't returned. But Tom had a feeling that wasn't the end of it. Something was out there, watching, waiting. He looked back at Rin. She was awake now, her golden eyes fixed on him. We can't stay here long, she said. I know, Tom replied. But you need more rest before we move again? Rin sat up straighter. Her face was serious. They will hunt me, the Tharn. Tom asked. She nodded. Yes, they know I survived the crash. They never leave loose ends. Tom looked at her carefully. Why do they want you gone so badly? Rin took a deep breath. Because I was carrying something. A message. From the Valari Council to the human side. A path to peace. It wasn't just talk, it was a real offer. Tom blinked. And someone wanted to stop that. Yes, she said. Someone from the shadows. Tom stood up and walked slowly around the cave, thinking, You still have the message? Rin pointed to the small bag near her. It's in there, locked, coded. Tom picked up the bag and opened it. Inside was a small glowing disc, smooth, blue, and warm to the touch. That disc could change everything, Tom whispered. Rin nodded again. If it reaches the right people, Tom crouched beside her, then we'll make sure it does. She looked up at him, eyes full of quiet trust. Suddenly, a sound echoed outside, a high-pitched hum. Tom rushed to the cave entrance and looked out. A small flying drone hovered above the canyon floor. Its lights blinked in patterns. It turned slowly, scanning the rocks. Then it stopped, as if it sensed something. Tom pulled back quickly. Drone, he whispered. Rin's face tightened. Tharntech, they've found us. We need to move, Tom said. He helped her up. She leaned on the crutch and bit her lip against the pain. Tom grabbed their supplies and placed the disc safely in his pouch. They exited the cave and stayed low, moving along the canyon wall. Tom kept one hand on his scanner, the other ready to catch Rin if she stumbled. The drone moved again, sweeping the area. We can't outrun it like this, Tom said. We need cover. There's an old riverbed, Rin said. North, 1 kilometer. It has caves underground. Good, Tom replied. Lead the way. I've got you. They moved as fast as they could. Dust kicked up around their feet. The sun had set completely now, leaving only the pale light of the stars. Behind them, the drone's hum grew louder. Then a sudden flash. A beam of light struck the ground just behind them. The rock exploded, throwing dust into the air. "They're firing!" Tom shouted. He grabbed Rin and pulled her behind a large stone. The drone hovered, searching again. Another flash hit nearby. Rin pulled out a small object from her belt. Looked like a stone at first, but when she pressed it, a small shield of blue light appeared around them. "Valari shield tech," she said. "Short use only." Tom nodded. "It'll do." The drone fired again, but the shield absorbed it. Sparks flew in the air. Then, suddenly another figure appeared on a nearby rock. A Tharn soldier, tall and silent, aimed a weapon at them. Tom acted without thinking. He reached into his pouch, pulled out a flare, and threw it high. The bright red light exploded above them, blinding the drone and the soldier. "Run," Tom shouted. He pulled Rin with him. They ran as fast as her leg allowed. Her crutch sank into the dust, but she pushed forward. They reached the riverbed and dropped down into the dry path. Tom scanned the ground until he found a crack in the rock. "There," he said. Together, they slid into the crack and crawled into the hidden tunnel beneath. Cool air rushed past them. It was dark, but it was safe for now. Tom sat down, breathing hard. Rin leaned against the wall, her hand still gripping his tightly. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "We made it." Tom looked back toward the entrance. The drone didn't follow. The tunnel was too narrow, too dark. Why do they want to stop peace so badly? Tom asked. "What do they gain from this?" Rin stared into the dark. "Some beings live on fear. War gives them power. Peace takes it away." Tom was silent. He looked at the disc again. It glowed softly in his hand. "Then we'll fight for peace," he said, "even if it's just the two of us." Rin smiled faintly. "I think two is enough. If the bond is strong." Tom looked at her. She was still holding his hand. The tunnel was dark and cool. Tom's eyes slowly adjusted as he moved forward. He held Rin's hand firmly, feeling the quiet strength in her grip. The dry riverbed above was silent now, no sounds of drones or soldiers. But Tom knew they could not stay hidden forever. He needed a plan. Rin limped beside him, her crutch tapping softly on the rocky ground. The pain in her leg had not gone away, but the brace helped. Tom stopped and looked at her. "How far to the next safe place?" Rin thought for a moment. "There is a small settlement near the edge of the canyon. Few people live there. They might help." Tom nodded. "We'll go there, but slowly. No hurry." They moved deeper into the tunnel. As they walked, Rin spoke quietly. "You asked about the bond?" Tom squeezed her hand gently. "Yes. What does it mean?" Rin took a breath. "In Valari culture, bonds are very important. When one is hurt and allows another to touch them, during pain, a connection forms. It is not just trust. It is more." Tom listened carefully. "It means you share a part of your life with the other. You feel their pain, their fears, their hopes. You become linked in a way that cannot be broken." Easily Tom's brow furrowed. "That sounds powerful." Rin nodded. "And dangerous." "How?" "If the bond is broken by betrayal, it causes great suffering. But if it holds, it can make two beings stronger than before." Tom looked at her. "So, you think our bond will help us survive?" Rin smiled softly. "I believe so." Tom smiled back. For the first time since the crash, the weight of loneliness lifted from both of them. The tunnel ended at a low opening that led out to a narrow path between tall rocks. The stars shone bright in the sky above Tom. Pulled Rin gently to a sitting position. "We should rest here," he said. Rin nodded, leaning on her crutch. Tom looked at her leg again. "The brace is holding, but you need better care soon." "I know," Rin said. "That is why we must reach the settlement." Suddenly, a sound came from behind, a soft rustling in the rocks. Tom stood quickly and held out his hand to Rin. "Stay here." He moved carefully toward the noise. His heart beat fast. Behind a large boulder, Tom saw a small figure, another Valari. She was younger, with silver hair and bright eyes. The woman looked at Tom, then at Rin. Rin. She asked. Softly, Rin's eyes widened. Mira, the newcomer smiled weakly. I found the signal. I followed it here. Tom relaxed, but stayed alert. Mira approached slowly. You must leave soon. The Tharn are closing in. Tom nodded. We know. Mira looked at Rin's leg. You're badly hurt. Rin shook her head. Tom helped me. Mira smiled at Tom. Thank you. Tom shrugged. I'm just a medic. Mira looked worried. We don't have much time. The Tharn want to take the disc. It holds proof of the peace treaty. Tom showed her the disc. Mira touched it gently. We must get it to the council. How? Tom asked. There's a hidden ship nearby, Mira said. It can take us to the Valari homeworld. Tom looked at Rin. Can you make it there? Rin nodded slowly. If we move carefully, yes. Mira smiled. Then let's not waste time. Tom helped Rin stand. The three moved cautiously along the path. As they walked, Tom felt Rin's hand in his. She did not let go. The bond between them grew stronger. They reached a small clearing where the hidden ship waited. Half covered by rocks and plants, Aaron and Mira moved toward it. Suddenly, a shadow appeared on the ridge above. Tom froze. The Tharn. Several soldiers, armed and silent, moved down toward the clearing. Run! Tom shouted. He grabbed Rin and Mira. Rin struggled, but kept her grip on Tom's hand. Tom pulled them toward the ship. The Tharn fired. Energy blasts. Tom raised his arm to shield Rin. A blast hit his shoulder, and he stumbled. Rin's eyes flashed. With anger, she pulled out a plasma blade and fought back. Mira took cover and used a small energy pistol together. They held the Tharn at bay. Tom recovered and helped, and into the ship Mira followed. Tom sealed the hatch. The ship lifted quickly. Soaring above the canyon, inside, Tom sat beside Rin. Holding her hand tightly, she smiled through the pain. We made it, she said softly. Tom smiled back. Together, Rin nodded. This bond, it saved us. Tom looked at her. It's more than just setting your leg. She laughed quietly. Yes, it is. The ship sped toward the stars, carrying hope for peace. The ship moved fast through the stars, silent and smooth. Tom sat by the window, watching the light of distant planets pass by. Rin rested nearby, her head against the wall, eyes half closed. Mira sat at the controls, guiding the small ship toward the Valari border. Tom's shoulder still ached from the Tharn blast, but the bandage he wrapped around it was holding. The ship's medical kit helped stop the bleeding. Rin's leg was still weak, but she refused to lie down completely. She sat close to Tom, her fingers lightly touching his arm. She hadn't let go of his hand since they entered the ship. The silence was peaceful, but it didn't last long. Mira turned from the controls, her face tense. We have a problem. Tom stood quickly. What is it? Valari patrols are scanning near the border, she said. They'll think we're an enemy ship unless we send the correct code. Can you send it? Tom asked. Mira shook her head. I wasn't given a full pass. Rin has the code. Rin opened her small pouch and pulled out the glowing disc. She pressed her fingers to it. A soft chime echoed in the ship. Code sent, she said. They waited. A red light blinked on the console, and it turned green. Border open, Mira said. With a smile, we're in. The ship flew past two silent patrol ships. No shots, no warning, just quiet space. Tom sat down again beside Rin. He looked at her closely. You doing okay? She nodded. I'm tired, but I'm okay. Tom took her hand again. We're almost there. Rin gave a small smile. Didn't think we'd survive the canyon, but you stayed. Even when your people told you to leave me. Tom looked away for a moment. I don't follow orders that don't make sense. She laughed softly. That makes you dangerous? Tom shrugged. Maybe. Or just human. They sat in silence for a moment.
Oh.
Then Rin looked up at him. When we land, things may change, she said. Valari leaders might not accept you. They may see you as a threat. I'm not afraid, Tom said. I am, Rin whispered. Tom turned to her. Why? Because they might separate us, she said. Tom didn't speak for a while. Then he said, we'll face that together, no matter what. Rin leaned her head on his shoulder. Then I won't be afraid. Hours passed. The ship reached the Valari homeworld, a silver-blue planet with shining oceans and tall white towers. It was beautiful, peaceful, but guarded. As the ship landed, several tall Valari soldiers waited outside. They wore dark robes and held long staffs. Tom stepped out with Rin and Mira. One of the soldiers stepped forward. His face was stern. You brought a human here? He asked. Rin stood tall, using her crutch. Yes, he saved my life. I trust him. Is not welcome. I don't care, Rin said. He comes with me. Tom stood quietly, saying nothing. Another Valari, older and with silver eyes, stepped out of the crowd. He looked at Rin, then at Tom. You carry the peace message? Rin nodded. I do. Then come with me. They were led through wide halls made of crystal and metal. Tom looked around, amazed by the beauty. Soft lights glowed from the walls. Everything was clean, quiet, and peaceful. At last, they reached the council chamber. 10 Valari. Elders sat around a round table. Rin stepped forward. I bring the peace disc. And a witness, she said. One of the elders looked at Tom. We did not ask for a human. This one helped me when I was left to die, Rin said. He risked everything to bring me here. Why? Another elder asked. Tom stepped forward. Now, his voice was calm. Because peace matters, he said. What? And because she trusted me first. There was silence. Then the oldest elder spoke. Let us hear the message. Rin placed the disc on the table. It lit up and showed a hologram. The Valari and human councils had agreed to meet. A path to peace was planned. But it was broken by an attack. The Shurned. The message ended. One elder stood. Then the rumors are true. The Tharn want war. We must stop them, said another. The room buzzed with quiet voices. Then one elder asked, What do you want, human? Tom looked at Rin. Want peace, he said, and I want to stay by your side. Another silence. Then the oldest elder stood. You are not one of us.
Ow.
But you have done what many of our own did not. You risked your life for a Valari. That means something. Looked at Rin. Your bond with this human is strong. Rin nodded. It saved us both. The elder looked at the others. Let them stay together. Let them speak at the summit. One by one, the other elders nodded. Rin's eyes filled with tears. She turned to Tom and whispered, We did it. Tom smiled, and still she held his hand. The sun rose slowly over the Valari capital, shining golden light across the tall towers and crystal paths. Birds with glowing wings flew across the sky, and the air was calm. But inside the council hall, the feeling was tense. Today was the day of the peace summit. Valari and human leaders were meeting face to face, something that hadn't happened in 10 years. Trust had been broken many times before. Each side blamed the other. But this time, they had something new. Hope. And that hope had a name. Rin. Tom stood with her near the great doors of the council hall. She wore a long white robe now, a sign of peace in Valari tradition. Her leg was still weak, but she stood tall. The crutch was gone. Her hand rested quietly in Tom's, as always. Tom wore simple, clean clothes, freshly given to him by Valari's staff. He felt out of place in the shining halls, but he stood straight. He wasn't just a visitor anymore. He was part of this story now. Mira walked ahead and nodded. It's time. They're waiting. Rin took a deep breath. Tom squeezed her hand gently. You ready? She nodded. If you're with me. They entered the great chamber together. Inside, dozens of leaders from both human and Valari sides sat in a large circle. Each wore the symbol of their people, The humans had silver pins. The Volari wore glowing sashes. At the center of the room was a round platform. And in the middle of it a single table, 2 chairs, one for a human, one for a Volari. Tom and Rin walked to the center. All eyes were on them. Whispers moved through the crowd. Some were surprised, some looked angry. Others looked curious. The Volari elder who had welcomed Tom stood up. "Today, we discuss peace," the elder said. "But peace must be built on truth, and truth comes from those who lived it." He turned to Tom and Rin. "You may speak." Rin stepped forward first. Her voice was calm but strong. "I am Rin of the Volari. I carried the peace message. I was attacked, hunted, and left. For dead. My ship was destroyed. My guards were lost." She paused and looked at Tom, "But I was saved. Not by my own kind, not by my leaders, but by a human named Tom." The human side whispered among themselves. Some frowned. Some leaned forward, listening closely. Orion continued. "He didn't run. He didn't hurt me. He set my broken leg and stayed at my side even when his own people told him to leave. He chose kindness over fear." She looked around the room. "Isn't that what peace should be?" Tom stepped forward now, took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "I didn't know her. I didn't know her name or her people's ways, but I knew she was hurt, and that was enough." Looked at the human leaders. "I was told to turn back. I didn't. I helped her because it was the right thing to do." He turned to the Volari leaders. "She trusted me. She showed me what true courage looks like." Rin stood beside him. "We share a bond now, one that cannot be broken." One of the human generals stood up. "How do we know this isn't a trick, a show to make us weak?" Tom looked straight at him. "I carried her through a desert. I stood between her and a soldier's gun. If that's weakness, then maybe we've forgotten what strength really means." A younger human diplomat stood next. "What happened to the message?" "The one you risked." "Everything for?" Rin stepped forward again. "I have it." She placed the glowing disc on the center table. It lit up, and a large image filled the air above them. It showed a signed agreement, a treaty between humans and Volari leaders. It was real. The room was silent. Then a loud voice broke through. A man in black stepped forward from the shadows of the room. His face was hard, his eyes cold. "I don't accept this," he shouted. "This peace will fail. The Volari are not to be trusted." Tom recognized him, a general from the outer human colonies, a man known for his hatred of aliens. "And who is this human boy?" the man shouted, pointing at Tom. "He broke rules. He helped the enemy." Tom stood his ground. "I helped a person, not an enemy." The man moved forward. "Then you are no longer one of us." Rin stepped between them. "You may see me as your enemy, but I see you as afraid." Gasps filled the room. The Volari elder stepped forward. "That is enough. We did not come to fight here. We came to choose." He turned to the others. "You have heard their story. You have seen the message. Now it is your choice." One by one, leaders stood and gave their answer. Yes, yes, no, yes. Voices filled the room, then silence again. The oldest human leader stood, a woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. "I've seen war. I've buried friends. I've lost sons," she said. "But today, I saw something new." She looked at Tom and Rin, 2 young lives, from 2 worlds, holding hands in front of us all. She paused. "I vote for peace." More voices followed, and in the end, the vote was clear. The peace would begin. Tom turned to Rin. Her eyes were shining. "You did it," he whispered. Arin shook her head. "You did it." And still, she held his hand. A week had passed since the summit. The peace agreement between humans and the Volari had been officially accepted. The stars felt quieter now. Patrols pulled back. Messages of hope were sent between worlds. No more secret missions. No more hidden attacks. But peace was not easy. It was not quick. There were still angry voices, still people who didn't trust the other side. But something had changed. Something strong. Something real. It started with one broken leg. And one human hand. Tom stood in a Valari garden, full of glowing trees and soft light. The air smelled fresh, with the scent of crystal flowers opening in the morning. He wore a new uniform now, not of war, but of peace. His badge showed the symbol of both his world and Rin's. He looked up at the sky. A transport ship flew quietly. Above, somewhere more humans were arriving. Scientists, doctors, diplomats, and none of them came with weapons. Arin walked beside him, no longer needing a crutch. Her leg had healed slowly but well. She still moved carefully, but her strength had returned. She wore a soft silver robe and a necklace with a single star-shaped charm, a gift from Tom. "How's the pain today?" he asked. "Almost gone," she said with a smile. They walked along the edge of a small stream. Little creatures with wings danced across the water. Tom picked one up gently. It sat in his hand, glowing like a tiny lantern. Arin watched him. "You've learned to love this place," Tom nodded. "It feels like home now." She looked at him quietly. "Will you stay, Tom?" Turned to her. "If I go back to Earth, they'll give me medals, awards, maybe even a new job." Rin said nothing. Tom stepped closer to her. "But here I found something I didn't know I was missing." He held her hand again, like always. "I found you." Didn't speak. She just smiled. Soft, full smile. The bond between them had not faded. In fact, it had grown stronger. Later that day, a message came from the human station near the orbit. It was from the Earth Council. "Tom, we request your presence at the joint ceremony tomorrow. We wish to honor your actions and discuss future steps." Tom read the message aloud. Rin stood nearby, listening. "Will you go?" she asked. Tom nodded. "I should. But only if you come with me." Rin raised an eyebrow. "You want to show me your world?" "I want them to see who really saved the peace," he said. She looked at the sky. "Then I will go." The next day, a small ship took them from the Valari homeworld to the orbiting human station. The place was busy but calm. Human officers walked beside Valari scientists. Machines were being shared. Books were exchanged. Even small meals were being traded. People were learning. Tom and Rin entered the ceremony hall together. A large crowd waited. Lights flashed as photos were taken. News crews stood at the edges. Leaders from both sides sat in front. The head of the Earth Council stepped forward. "Tom," she said, "your bravery helped change the course of two worlds. You disobeyed orders. You risked your life. But most of all, you chose to care." Tom nodded respectfully. She turned to Rin, and "You, Rin of the Valari. You trusted a stranger. You shared a message of peace when many wanted war. For that, we thank you." Then she raised her hand and said, "Let this day be remembered not for words spoken, but for a hand that refused to let go." The room clapped. Tom turned to Rin. "You okay?" She nodded. "Strange, but okay." After the ceremony, the two were invited to speak with students, both human and Valari. A young girl raised her hand. "Is it true you met during a crash?" Tom smiled. "Yes. I found her injured in a canyon. You held hands the whole time?" Rin laughed. "Yes. He was nervous at first, but so was she." The students laughed. Another boy asked, "Will there be more people like you too? Friends from both sides?" Tom looked at Rin. "I hope so," he said. Arin nodded. "If they learn to trust like we did." Yes. That night, they walked along the edge of the station's viewing deck. Stars glittered around them. Below, the Valari world turned slowly. Beyond it, Earth glowed with blue light. Two worlds. Two lives now forever connected. Tom leaned on the railing. "You know, I came to Naro 3 thinking I'd just fix a few broken wires or burns from machines. Maybe patch up a teammate." Rin stood beside him. "I thought I'd just deliver a message." Tom chuckled. "Didn't expect to almost die in a canyon, did you?" "No," she said, smiling. "But I didn't expect to meet someone like you either, Tom turned to her. Neither did I. And again, like every day since that moment in the dust and heat, she reached for his hand and didn't let go. The end.